Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is May 8, 2023, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of today, Apple stock releases its quarterly earning reports and the stock soars. But first, no major economic events scheduled for today. So as we're looking at the various markets, starting out the world Forex symbols, the British pound continues to push even higher. Now looking at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ both rebounding. And looking at commodities, gold and oil bounce after a rout. Now looking at the stocks, Apple and Tesla continue pushing higher. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin retraces to support. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to start looking at the British pound, and as you can see, it pushed even higher. Now, I don't know if it's because the coronation of the new king of Britain, King Charles, was having anything to do with it, but this did push up higher. You can see that pushing up to 126.46. Now, it's not a breakout move, okay, but it is pushing higher, okay? It is on its dead highs, where if we look at the euro, it's trugging along. Now, really, this is resistance-ish area. This is really major resistance-ish area. And so the question is, will it continue pushing higher? Now, compared to the euro, you can see the euro is trading sideways, but this is trending upwards. Now, looking at some of the other major pairs, now this is interesting. The Canadian dollar actually getting much stronger versus the US dollar. Remember, it's an inverse relationship because this is USD and then CAD. And you can see that it's at 133. And that's a nice move from 136. That's 300 pips that it nosedived from that area. So that's also an important news. Now, it's coming to resistance-ish area. Well, really support for the dollar at 133. So this is really something of interest at this area. Now, jumping into commodities, gold gets that bounce to 222. And it's trading within range. It's still trading within range, even though it pushed up higher last week and hit close to all-time highs or record highs of, previous record highs, and just about. It still needs to follow through, and we're not getting that. We're just getting it going and bouncing from support to resistance, and this is just to be expected because the market doesn't know what to do with inflation yet. Now, looking at crude oil, we did bounce last week from $66, which is a decent bounce, to $71 a barrel. Now, jumping into the U.S. markets, the Dow Jones trading at 33,721, a nice comeback, over 500 points on the upside, but this still has way to go, and it's still also trading in a range, okay, because there is lack of direction. Now, looking at the NASDAQ, it did go back to its highs of 13,300, namely because of Apple, NVIDIA, and KLA. But Apple, you could see here, look at that gap up and go. Now, this has to sustain itself, okay? It has to continue going higher for it to really show us that it's really strong. I don't want to see it, close the gap or do something like that, because I think that would show some weakness to it in the long term. Okay, so right now, pretty decent numbers. It beat its estimates. Nevertheless, it's growing at a slower pace, but it's still growing. But what's the question like next quarter and the next quarter? And that is what I think in everybody's mind is going to be. And looking at the other stocks, Facebook traded lower, and so did Microsoft. So there's a little weakness in the markets there, unless we're just playing rotation again. And that could also be the case. JP Morgan also got a little bit of a bounce yesterday, okay, a gap up, and then, some tapering off there as well. So this is something, to look at, okay, because they're not going to just give it to you all together. You got to just pay attention to each one of them. Now, looking at Tesla, look at this. Nice break to the 170 level, and that, remember, is a 200-day moving average, at least on a 4-hour chart. It's a little bit harder to see on a daily chart because that's a stock split, so it's harder to see it. But we do have upwards momentum, and if it does break out higher, if it closes that gap 179, that's going to be a very important level for it to be. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, look at that, back on our support to 28,000-ish level. We're getting closer to it at 28, high 27,000. That's an area to start getting interesting in terms of buying. So look at that today as well. I do anticipate it's going to be a slower day. I just want to see some follow through in the stock market from last week. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.